Hi ho, hi ho, unboxing we must go. Well, YouTubers, it's a long one, so settle in, have a nice cup of tea or maybe something a little stronger if it's later in the evening wherever you are. And this one's about 23 minutes long, and it's a big box of Silver Forum coins that have come back from NGC. There's a little something for everybody in this box, but mostly it's a little something for those of you who like sovereigns. This first one, there's an MS one in this box, and then there's a proof that is still with NCS being conserved. But these are really, really nice. This is George VI gold coin. It's from South Africa, and it's a pound, a South African pound. So it's not a sovereign, although it's very, very similar to a sovereign in many ways. But it's got the lovely antelope on the back, 1952 in South Africa. And this one is not mine, but I wish it was, and I might very well hunt for one of these. There aren't too many of these things about, and they are fairly expensive, but very nice indeed, lovely. So if you carry on watching this video, you'll find that there is minute after minute of superb sovereigns from Australia, from Great Britain, and I'm not going to try and tell you about each one. I think it's better to use the time that I've got with you to talk about sovereigns generally. So that's what I'm going to do. So people are always asking, well, where should I start and to build a sovereign collection? Before they ask that question, they ask why sovereigns? I think after a few of my videos on sovereigns, it should be pretty self-evident why the sovereign is an interesting and pretty much underrated coin. But if the word hasn't got around, the only thing that maybe is a downer on it is that it's British, but then some people might think that's a benefit as well. If you're in England, it's also a really nice bullion choice, capital gains tax free. It's a pretty tax efficient coin, although very few people end up paying capital gains tax. That's one of the big selling points of it. Obviously a lot of the coins you see here are very expensive, high caliber coins, but that's not necessarily the best place to start. I think the best place to start is making a connection with your local bullion dealer, because those people have hundreds and hundreds of sovereigns available. There were millions of these things made, a lot got melted down, but there are still large amounts of bullion sovereigns in the market. I regularly see pictures of pickups from some of the bullion dealers, and they there are packages of 200, 300, 400 sovereigns that they pick up. Within those bulk packages, there are good ones and there are bad ones. So if you make friends with your local bullion dealer, you can probably get your hands on some of the good ones within those packages for a really good price. If you're over in the UK, then places like Hatton Garden Metals is a good source. Atkinson's Bullion, Chard's the bullion dealer. It's often better to buy bullion sovereigns from the bullion dealers than it is to buy them either at auction. I think auction is a very bad place to buy bullion. And that's traditional auctions or eBay auctions. The same thing applies to both. If you're in the States, then sources like Pinehurst Coins, APMEX. One of the great starting points is probably the bigger bullion dealers who specialize in random sovereigns. Now, if you don't know them, and even if you do, it can be quite difficult to ensure you get good ones. But so far, whenever I've made random sovereign purchases, I haven't really had anything bad. I think a lot of sovereigns are in pretty good condition. A lot of the ones you'll get are Queen Elizabeth sovereigns, late or early, and you'll also get George V sovereigns, and a lot of those are in pretty good condition. So you'll pick up some nice coins generally if you buy 5 or 10 in a package, what I sometimes do is I buy a multiple of 5, say, and then that allows me to pick out the best 1 or 2 to keep myself, and I'll sell the rest. So I gradually improve the quality of my own collection. I don't really pay a big premium for sovereigns when I buy them, if I can possibly help it. If you buy them from a bullion dealer, you can often get them at between 2 and 5% over spot. So they tend to be a pretty good value thing, both in terms of buying and selling. So when you come to sell sovereigns, and you may find you get a better price from a dealer in the UK as opposed to the United States, depends on which dealers you do business with. You may find it's better to sell in the United States over eBay when you sell them, or to a friend or to one of the Facebook groups, but to sell them to another collector rather than to a middleman. In the UK, you can actually sell sovereigns quite happily to a middleman, and you'll get a reasonable price for them, although you will still get a little bit more for them if you sell them to the public. In terms of varieties of sovereign, the cheapest ones are the King sovereigns and Queen Elizabeth sovereigns with the standard St George on the back. Sometimes you'll see, like this one, you'll see the shieldback sovereigns. Shieldbacks are probably spot plus 15%. If they're in good condition, they can be even double spot. So it depends on, year, mint, condition. But you can pick up worn shieldbacks quite happily for about 50 or so pounds, 80 or so dollars over spot, something like that. Probably in kind of middle condition. So that's probably the first port of call. If you've already got some bullion sovereigns and you want to aim a little bit higher, then another nice thing you can pick up relatively easily is some of the basic proof sovereigns. So I've seen proof sovereigns go from 280 to £400 unless they're special designs. In the States, you can get a random proof sovereign from people like bullion exchanges over eBay, and you can get that for about $350 or so, $370, something like that. So not a great premium in a way for some pretty special coins. If you have a random proof sovereign, you may get an early one, you may get a late one. You probably won't get a very late coin, but you may get one where they had quite a large mintage in the kind of middle period. But I've seen some of the 1980-81 proof sovereigns now starting to go up in value and changing hands, particularly if they're in good condition. And I've sent some away for grading that have been graded a 70 recently for members of the Silver Forum. So, maybe you'll find some gems out there. If you want something a little bit special in the sovereign world, then I think you've got two choices for kind of regular money before you get into the super expensive territory. For regular money, I would aim for 2002, 2005 are the 2 years that are still a little bit of a premium, but not too much of a premium. If you're lucky, maybe you'll find a 2012 proof for a reasonable amount, although I haven't seen one going for a reasonable amount for quite a long time. The 89, but any of the special years. So if you want to treat yourself, they will cost more in those special years to begin with. But since I've been collecting really only over the last few years, the 89 has gone up from £750 to £1,100-1,200. And I think that, if you buy really good quality special coins, there is always a market, because when anyone goes into the market, wants to find a coin for themselves, their first port of call is obviously going to be those special years, and there are only a limited number of those available. 2005, I think, is going to start to raise in price. 2002 has already gone up a little bit. And then you've got the 2017. If you can find one of those that somebody is selling at a reasonable price, that's still a good bet. The 2018 not quite so much, but 2012 is pretty good. If you don't want something so modern, then I would say maybe think about specializing, and you can specialize in varieties of Jubilee Sovereign, you can specialize in shieldbacks. I would love to build up a collection myself of Australian sovereigns from Melbourne between 1880 and 1887. That's kind of my dream collection. I've only got, I think, 2 of those dates at the moment, 82 and 84. I might have an 85 actually, I'm not quite sure. Some of them can be thousands of dollars, but and they're very difficult to find. They're amazing. I mean, you try finding an 1883 or an 1881 or an 1880 Melbourne Sovereign. You know, I went to Australia and they didn't have any in Australia. So some of these things are actually much more difficult to find than you ever think. You know, this example we happen to be looking at the moment shows some of the very rare sovereigns with varieties, wide date variety, angled J variety. Some of these can be much more than a plain bullion sovereign, but they make a great collection. So you have to decide whether or not you want any sovereigns. If you do want some, do you just want the odd few bullion coins? Do you want some special collector's coins, proofs? You know, the nice thing about sovereigns and collecting sovereigns is that there's so much variety, and you can do it with relatively no risk as a bullion coin, or you can do it with higher risk but maybe higher potential gain as a collector's coin with numismatic value. That's one of the reasons I like them. I think, you know, the people who do collect these things never seem to tire of them. They will always buy, when they have some spare money, another sovereign, and they're buying and selling and trading. You know, I don't know what the equivalent in America would be to sovereign collecting. You know, maybe silver eagles or something like that. Maybe that's a bad example. But I think it's a bit of a passion in the UK, and it's been discovered in other places. For example, there's a massive market now in Japan for British sovereigns, and a lot of them are being sent over to Japan. And I know in America there's a lot more people collecting them at the moment, and maybe a little bit of that is a result of my videos. I like to think that, but I also like to think people do their own research and have read for themselves a little bit of the history of these coins and have become fascinated. So if you do have some money that you're not putting into crypto at the moment, then, you know, why not buy a real coin like a sovereign, a traditional coin, instead of a crypto coin. So maybe something to think about. Maybe if you've made a profit on crypto, you know, buy a few sovereigns with your profit. I know people who've made quite a bit in Bitcoin, you know, going between $600 an ounce and $14,000 an ounce, and that profit, they've taken the profit on that and have used it to fund quite a few interesting gold purchases. So you know, the funny thing is that at the moment some cash has been diverted out from gold and precious metals and towards crypto, but actually when profit is made, most of those people really just want beautiful items. So worth a mention, this uncirculated details coin you can see here on the screen on the right. This was kind of expected to be that way. It wasn't. It did have some previous cleaning probably a long time ago, which gave it the surface hairlines, the dreaded surface hairlines. But it is a very rare example. There aren't very many of these coins, only a few thousand of this particular variety. So it is highly collectible, even with the designation as a details coin. And if you saw my video with the zombies about a week or two ago, then you'll know that these purple slabs of death are actually being changed over from January by NGC to brown coins. And so this one would get a slightly less offensive designation. It might actually say cleaned instead of surface hairlines. There is a case for saying that actually it's better to call it surface hairlines than cleaned. So I don't know. It looks pretty good to me, but NGC are very pernickety about surface hairlines. They seem to be particularly keen to find them on British coins, unfortunately. They seem to look over much surface hairlining on American coins, from what I can see, having graded now pretty much 1,500 coins for myself and members of the Silver Forum with NGC. Had quite a few surface hairlines. Some more varieties here. 1889 Melbourne Sovereign. These S numbers are the Spink catalogue numbers. So Spink Coins of Great Britain catalogue numbers. You can look up any of those numbers online easily and see the particular variety. They only attribute these varieties normally if you ask for a variety plus designation, which they want an extra $15 a coin for at grading time. So it's going to be interesting after this video has played out and you guys make some comments to see how people feel about sovereigns, and whether, if you haven't collected any sovereigns, then you might be motivated to start, having seen videos like this, or whether you would absolutely not have anything in your collection apart from an American gold eagle or an American silver eagle or a Morgan dollar or any of this kind of stuff if you're over in the States. This one is a little more modern, and actually it's not Great Britain. It's a mechanical error. It is mislabeled. It's actually an India half sovereign. Not that usual. I think this is maybe the first one or two that have been graded, but this sovereign is made by PAMP over in India. It will be sent back and it will be put in an India label. Should say 2004 India half sovereign, MS half sovereign. Okay, so next we have a 2005. This is one of those special years. The PF70 is a very, very good result for this coin. Great result. There aren't that many of them at all of this coin in PF70. We're seeing a few more graded now, and there may be a few more graded at 70 going forward. The populations are always expanding as these coins eventually find themselves all over to NGC. The next one is a Sapphire Anniversary Privy First Releases coin. They've given it a very grandiose title, haven't they? But actually, this one is a 2018 Proof Sovereign, and it has a little privy next to the 2018 showing the crown, and it's quite a nice touch, but it's not quite as special as the 2017 coin, which was much more special. But it's got a nice label on it with the Houses of Parliament, Palace of Westminster, and it got a 70, which is great. So no complaining at all on that one for me. This next one is a little Britannia, a very, very little Britannia. This is, I think, a 40th of an ounce, of gold. They, I think, minted a few thousand of these, and they were either in some of the big sets, or they had some of them packaged in cards and stuff like that. They're barely able to grade these and put them in a slab, but they do manage it somehow. Somebody asked me whether NGC would actually be able to grade this, and of course I said yes, and they will grade anything, no matter how small it is. They'll just cut it out of one of their little plastic things if it's too difficult to put in a regular slab, and they'll put it in. Next up, 2007. This is the Somalia Elephant, and this one is a quarter ounce gold coin, but it looks a little bit bigger because it's actually very thin. So I think these are really nice. I'm a big fan of the African wildlife series and the elephants. I don't have any myself, but I always enjoy seeing other people's when they send them in for grading. I haven't got one of these either, but this is also a pretty cool coin. This is owned by a friend of mine on the Silver Forum, and it's really, really nice. This is a South Korean tiger coin, and I'm very, very happy. Well, a medal, sorry, I should say, and it got PF70, which is really good. I love this one. Great design. Next up, what do we have? Okay, so this is the special silver sixpence. So this was actually a Christmas 2017 sixpence. They didn't designate it, unfortunately, as a Christmas sixpence for some reason, but they just gave it the standard silver sixpence. I'm not sure they're going to be persuaded necessarily. Here's another one of the 2018 Sapphire Sovereigns. Very nice. You can probably find these available at a slight discount to the Royal Mint original price at the moment, and they may be worth picking up. Some bits and pieces. We had a couple of coins that were, I think one was in maybe an Anax slab, or it could have been a coin grading service slab that was put into an NGC slab. So they gave us the original label back, packaged up, so we could see exactly where it had come from. Oh yeah, okay. I think it was a coin grading service slab on one of them, on the 1875 Sydney Sovereign. So it's nice that they give back all the original stuff so we can see what the CGS grade was compared to the equivalent NGC grade on the Sheldon scale. This first legend one is quite a rare one actually as well. So there's a couple of nice sovereigns here that that were graded and reslabbed. Okay, let's have a look at the coins. So AU58, this one got the first legend one. I don't know the exact mintage of the first legends as opposed to the others, but I don't think there's a massive number of these coins around. And this was the one that was the CGS 65, and that worked out as an AU58. So that's the 1875 shieldback. So that was in a London Coins coin grading service slab, and there's the original slab showing the difference in grading between the UK grading and the world or kind of generic 1 to 70 equivalent. So that's the end of this box. I hope you liked it, and that you'll tune in on the new Numistacker channel for the next box, which also hopefully will be just as impressive as this one was.